Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hicks and I will be joining you today as I will be every day moving forward, uh, covering Arizona State athletics, football and basketball, anything in between women's basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever else I might need to cover. I will give you the best content each and every single day to the best of my ability. And I hope that I continue to be engaging and informative as well. So, without further ado, I want to jump into today's episode. So, as you may or may not have seen, there's a piece that got published on ASU on SI this morning that was projecting Arizona State's place in the Big 12 in terms of tiers. So, for this piece, I broke the Big 12 conference down into 5 tiers, and it wasn't the easiest to figure out the top 3 tiers, but I feel like it's important to contextualize the conference going into the season, see where teams are looking on how teams are looking on paper, and seeing if there's any teams that could be a surprise this season. All right. So without further ado, here's my tier list. So in the bottom tier five, I have 3 programs. I have UCF, I have West Virginia, and I have Oklahoma State. For UCF and West Virginia, they're clearly in a rebuild phase right now. UCF brought Scott Frost back for a second stint with the program. Who knows where it could lead, but this season isn't looking too promising. Same with West Virginia. Rich Rodriguez is known for building programs together very fairly quickly, but doesn't look like it's going to happen this year again for them. They have a big quarterback battle going on, and it just looks like there's too many question marks on that team so far going into summer. And Oklahoma State, same thing. Mike Gundy is kind of the Dabo Swinney of the Big 12. He's a great coach, but he doesn't really embrace the modern landscape of college athletics. He doesn't really attack the portal. And as a result, the quarterback situation in Stillwater has been very tenuous at best for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And it doesn't look like it's going to improve this season either. So the 3 programs in the bottom tier all have quarterback issues. That's the common denominator there. And they also could be in various stages of rebuilding the program. All right, for tier 4, frisky bowl level teams. So these teams probably could end up better than expected, but they're not quite in the fringe contender level as a collective unit yet. So I have Arizona, I have Houston, and I have Cincinnati. So Arizona, obviously, year one under Brent Brennan, they disappointed a very highly disappointing season. Um, Noah Fafita had a rough year after coming on the scene in 2023. The defense kind of fell apart. They lost star safety Gunnar Maldonado to Kansas State. Uh, but who knows? Brent Brennan did a little reshuffling on the staff. Fafita is coming back with less pressure on him. It's possible that Arizona is better than expected this season. And Houston's really the sleeper team in the conference, in my opinion. Willie Fritz is a great program builder. Connor Wigman has been rather disappointing relative to what his expectations were, but he's in a new situation. There's a chance that he overperforms, and the rest of the Houston defense is actually pretty impressive on paper. So I could see a world in where Houston actually is a 6 or 7 win team this season. Cincinnati, they have Brendan Sorsby, a great quarterback, but the defense is questionable. The running game has question marks. There's a lot of holes in the roster. Scott Satterfield has a lot of pressure under him to perform this year. It looks like Cincinnati's going to be another 5 or 6 win team this season. There's not much upside there, but they do have potential to be decent. So tier 3, here's the conference sleepers. So I have the Utah Utes, I have Kansas, I have Colorado, and I have TCU. So these are all varying levels of teams on paper going into the season. Probably would say TCU is the team with the most upside in this tier because Josh Hoover is the top 3 quarterback in the Big 12. Sonny Dykes has already done it before with this program, and the defense could be better this season. It's not a guarantee. That's the big question mark that they have, but they do have a lot of upside after finishing 9-4 in 2024. Utah, Kyle Whittingham always puts out phenomenal defenses. That's never a question. Devin Dampier could be an upgrade over what they've had the last 2 seasons, although he does have room to grow as a passer. He ran for 19 touchdowns at New Mexico last year, and he could add a layer of excitement and electricity to a Utah offense that really does need that inertia. Kansas really could come down to whether Jalen Daniels is healthy or not, which has been a massive point of contention for the last few years. If he's healthy, there's a chance that they could be an 8 or 9 win team again this season. We'll see what happens there. Colorado, same thing. Deion Sanders is going to have his work cut out for him to rebuild the program after losing Heisman winner Travis Hunter and his son Shedeur Sanders. But he has a lot of solid pieces in place still. They got Caden Salter in the portal. They got Julian Lewis to flip his commitment from USC to the Buffaloes. So there's potential there. We'll see what happens with that situation. All right, so tier 2, legitimate contenders in the Big 12. BYU, Iowa State, and Kansas State. So here's my reasoning why these teams aren't tier 1, and BYU might actually move down a tier depending on what happens with the Jake Retzloff saga that's going on right now. So Iowa State, there's a lot to like about that team, but they're going to have to replace Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. There's a few spots on defense that they're going to have to reshuffle. Matt Campbell is a phenomenal coach, which is why they still have high upside, but it's not as likely that they reach their ceiling this season as they did last season, and especially relative to other Big 12 programs that are looking to finish at the top. Kansas State, they might be a top 3 team in the Big 12 when it comes to pure talent, but I'm going to have to see them win some big games before I fully buy into them as a top tier contender. It's been a few years since they've been in that position where they actually secured the big win, and they ended up falling short in the title game anyways. So we'll see what happens with Kansas State and Chris Klieman. Without further ado, tier 1, I have Baylor, Texas Tech, and ASU. All right, so Baylor, they have a lot of question marks on defense, much like TCU, but their upside is as high as anyone due to the offense they're bringing out. Sawyer Robertson's probably the second best quarterback in the conference. Dave Aranda has rebuilt that program once again almost overnight after he was on the hot seat as recently as early last season. So there's a lot to be excited about in Waco, and that's going to be a huge matchup between ASU and Baylor in mid-September in the opening conference game for both teams. Texas Tech, they're probably the second best team on paper in the Big 12 right now. My reservation about them is Behren Morton. He is a good quarterback. There are aspects of his game that seemingly limit what they can do, and it seems like it brought them down a couple of notches last season. We'll see if the reinforcements that Joey McGuire put out on defense will help them improve as a collective unit. But I believe in the defense of Texas Tech, honestly, more than the offense this season. That's just odd to say, but they are absolutely going to be a contender in the Big 12. There's no way around it. And lastly, ASU. They're in the top tier. They're the team to beat until proven otherwise. You can say, oh yeah, Cam Skattebo is going to be tough to replace. There are some valid concerns about this Arizona State team, but the defense looks to be in an even stronger position this year than this time last year. Keyshawn Elliott, Prince Dorba, Xavier Alfred, all of these guys are phenomenal players. And then you bring in Nyland Green and other transfers to reinforce that. Brian Ward is a phenomenal coordinator. Marcus Arroyo is a phenomenal coordinator. Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson are two of the best players in the country, period. And Kenny Dillingham is the best coach in the Big 12. Argue with a wall about that. But Arizona State is the top team until proven otherwise. And thank you so much for coming in today. That is all pretty much a one-track episode. And thank you so much for tuning in, taking time to listen to me. Follow me on X at KX_21. And thank you so much for listening today. See you tomorrow.